call the meeting of the Templeton Board of Selectmen to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item that we have on our agenda this evening is the Town Administrator Report.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have the printed report because it sits in my computer, and when the lights went out, I was about to print it, but I can give it to you, I think, from memory, or most of it, and I'll send you copies tomorrow electronically. We have advertised for a town accountant, and I have received 2 applications at this point. So, much of this you know, I'll just mention it for the public consumption. Also, I attended the Mass Higher Ed Council conference on Thursday in Worcester. This is a purchasing consortium or cooperative, and I was very impressed with the organization. They're based in Amherst. They started out providing services and products to higher ed institutions in the state, and now they've branched out to cities and towns. And it's clear that they have very competitive prices for their products. The products that they sell are mostly for maintenance, repair, and operations of buildings. So we're going to become members. There's no fee, and take advantage of any kind of online quotes when we need to buy supplies and products for the town. And it can all be conducted online. They go out and competitively bid, and they subcontract for the products that they sell, much like the state contract. In fact, they compete with the state contract. In some instances, I was told their prices are better. So we have another option when we're out buying products to buy less expensively. That was the organization that Julie Farrell mentioned a couple months ago that we ought to be looking into. Did have a long meeting with department heads, and we're implementing some changes in the way we manage in anticipation that we're going to be audited in January. I think most importantly, department heads will now be signing the payroll for all of their employees. The town administrator will be signing or countersigning the payroll for the department heads, and as you know, the chair of the board countersigns the pay for the town administrator. So that's just good practice to ensure that there are no phantoms on the payroll and that we do it accurately. Also, we are going to provide the budget versus actual expenditure information on a monthly basis to the Board of Selectmen. It'll go to department heads as well as the advisory board, so that we have our eyes open during the fiscal year and can see any problems emerging. At this point, I'm not aware of any problems that are emerging, but at least having monthly reports will enable us to keep an eye on everything. I've begun putting together a projection for revenue for fiscal 2016. Also met with the representative of the advisory board, Will Spring, who was designated by the advisory board to work with the town administrator to come up with a budget format that we both agree to, and to make some other changes in the budget process. As you know, the Department of Revenue, during our financial crisis, expressed an interest in coming to town again as we begin the new fiscal year to review our financial situation, to help the town file its tax recap, and in general just to look things over and to be satisfied themselves that we are stable and our budget is balanced. I've been in touch with them several times. They would like the town accountant and myself to complete the preliminary tax recap form and to put it online, and then they'll come out and meet with the selectmen, I'm sure the public if they'd like to sit in, as well as the financial management team, to just go over where we are and offer any comments. That should be happening around the third week of August. Our delegate, our representative at the Springfield office, Deb Wagner, is going to be on vacation until the 17th of August, and so we're going to do it shortly after the 17th. Changes and improvements in the town hall building are moving forward. Roof is completed, as you know. We're going forward with the installation of the heating plant. We have one bid and expect another one tomorrow to do the brickwork on the windows to the rear that will enable the construction of the handicap ramp. And obviously the plan is to have that handicap ramp installed by the 1st of September, which is what we're mandated to do by the State Access Board. I believe we're going to meet that timetable. And lastly, towards the fall, when the Highway Department is well along with the street and road reconstruction program this year, they'll be coming in and doing some improvements in the parking lot. We have had a firm redesign the parking lot and the area to the rear. Very attractive design, and I think very functional for people who come to Town Hall. And it will include some leveling of the land. It will also include a sidewalk. It will include preservation of the existing playground, but on the opposite side, for about half of that space to the rear, there'll be parking spaces made available. And I think in general it's going to be a significant improvement for the convenience of the residents who need to come to Town Hall. We've also discovered a drainage system, and there's going to be an effort to prevent any drainage problems from emerging after we blacktop part of that rear part of the lot. So that's moving forward. Holly wants me to announce that we're having the department head meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And part of what will happen routinely is that I'll meet with the department heads following the Monday night meeting of the Board of Selectmen, so that we can update the department heads on what happens Monday night. You know, some don't live in town and don't see the meetings, and so have better coordination between decisions made by the Board of Selectmen and what the department heads are required to do. There's more to it, that report. It was a longer report than normal, but that's as much as I can tell you from memory. We did have a problem with 2 checks that I'm aware of, and some issues. We spent a good deal of time today trying to find out what had happened. What had happened. And the best information that I have is that, number one, the town does have more than $1 million in cash available to cover our obligations to employees, and that the problems that developed in 2 cases over the weekend involve really the banks themselves and the process whereby the banks scan checks, and that seemed to be the glitch at the time. So I don't know if people have heard about this yet, but we hope that we don't hear a rumor that the town has run out of money and can't pay its employees. On the contrary, we have plenty of money in the bank, and we're able to pay our obligations. The rest of the report will follow tomorrow, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item that we have on the agenda is the MRPC Executive Director, Glenn Eaton, to present the Templeton Draft Hazard Mitigation Plan. Is Mr. Eaton here? Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to come up to the front row, that would be great. Thank you. Welcome.
This okay?
Yeah, sure, great.
Okay. I believe Holly
Yes.
received and handed out the documents. We do have some extra copies of the handout that we're going to go through, not the planning document itself. So people, I don't have enough for everybody. I made about 25. If you want to take one, pass it on. I want to share with everybody that as much as I can. What we'd like to do is give you an update tonight about where we are. MRPC's been, this is our second time we prepared a all-hazard mitigation plan on behalf of the region. Quick elevator speech. So the region for Montezut is from Athol to Air. It's 22 municipalities, 3 cities, 19 towns, and 1 establishments. So what we're doing with actually federal grant funds from FEMA that flowed through MEMA, that flowed to MRPC back in 2012. We got our second grant. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip through as quickly as possible the handout, the slides, the PowerPoint, and I'll hit some highlights. What we're doing is we're reaching out to the communities to make sure that they're aware of the status of the process as of this date. We've been working on this for about 2 years, 18 to 24 months. So let you know where it is, if you have any questions, and then how we get from, I guess, this 2/3 point at 66% on the way in to the 100% mark within the next 6 to 12 months. So the first slide talks about the grant award, just to give some background information. So we received the grant in the fall. We had a formal of 11. We had a formal kickoff in January of 12. We've been working ever since then. The town of Templeton's hazard mitigation plan expired in March of 2014. So the plans that we wrote back when we finished, literally during the ice storm of December 2008, as we were in the office for 2 weeks with no power, and literally I was daisy chaining extension cords to get PCs to work from the downstairs in the office. We were finishing that plan. But those are starting to expire. So Royal Smiths has run out, Templeton's has run out, others are still active. However, they were pretty much adopted when we finished in 8. They were then adopted by MEMA and FEMA in 09 and early 10. So they started to run out, so we went out for some grant money to make sure that you had a current plan. I'll give you some takeaways during this. The second slide talks about the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. The DMA 2000 amended the Barbara Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act, or the Act, by repealing the previous mitigation planning provisions. It's a lot of gobbledygook, and replacing them with a new set of mitigation plan requirements. Basically, we're writing a plan. It used to be called pre-disaster mitigation, so if you heard of your old PDM plan, it's now all hazard mitigation. That's the name, if any of you knew. If you didn't know, then just stay on all hazard mitigation. But the DMA 2000 provides a source of pre-disaster hazard mitigation funding that assists local governments to implement effective hazard mitigation measures to ensure continued functionality of critical services and facilities after a natural disaster. This is not about man-made disaster planning. This is about acts of God. It's perfect tonight when we had some heckish weather come through, we lost power and so forth. So this is the kind of weather we're talking about. Having a plan in place allows a community to open the door to go to FEMA and MEMA and pursue funding to help with eligible projects that are identified in your plan. I can cut to the chase because the takeaway is this plan leads to grant money. The grant money is typically around think drainage, think culverts, think protecting assets, think protecting property. Those are the types of things that are generally eligible. I don't have a list of eligible items here with me tonight, but certainly this is an iterative process, so we'll come back and educate you more about this when the plan is adopted. The takeaway on this slide is that, again, the plan makes you eligible for grants later on from FEMA after natural disasters take place, like tornadoes. Tornado hit Revere today. Tornado hit Springfield a couple of years ago. So that's the kind of money you want to have available to your community. Next slide says, what is hazard mitigation? It's reduction or alleviation of loss of life, property, injuries from natural human-made disasters, and through the long-term strategies. Next slide, goals for developing local hazard mitigation. You want to reduce, basically there's a lot of bullets here, it talks about reducing threats to people and property. Again, it reinforces the fact on the third bullet that it opens up the door for funding in the future to have the plan in place now. Next slide is the hazard mitigation plan update process. So basically what the process is that we get together, and we've already gotten together with at least 22 preparedness committees. And we typically focus our efforts through your local emergency management director. We ask him or her to fan out to public safety people, police, fire, EMT, highway, and other people involved in managing assets that have to do with being protected or being involved in emergency preparedness planning or then addressing being the first responder. So we talked to a lot of emergency responders through the planning process. I think it was myself about 18 months ago that came up with a GIS technician. We had Renee at the office about 18 months ago, and we met with, I want to say, Richard Curtis.
Yes, right behind you.
Where's Richard? There he is. Hi, Richard. How are you? So you can prove I was here 18 months ago. We went through that. Okay. All right, great. So basically what we do is we try to gather some information on the ground. Here I just want to take a quick aside, and at least for the select board, Holly was good enough to hand out the appendix, which is Templeton's appendix. It's a blue cover. And if you open that document and you went to the first plan or first map of the, I think there are 3 maybe in the back, but if you went to the first of them, pulled it out, that's the one. You'll see a lot of multicolored, what the GIS people like to call polygons, I call circles on the map. And within each one of them has a text. And the text says, hey, over here, there's something that could threaten an asset, a road. Something over here that could threaten, a dam burst over here, it could threaten businesses or a public facility. Here's our emergency management shelter when we have ice storm need to shelter people and weather events and so on and so forth. So part of the process is to reach out, and that's a part of what we did here and then in the other communities as well. That map is really kind of the key map for really this whole plan, and that's the kind of thing you want to be concentrating in on after this planning process is done. You want to look to that map and make that map, obviously the narrative too, Bible, but look at the map. The map is kind of almost like a checklist or a laundry list of stuff that you want to be addressing in the long term. A part of that process, the next slide talks about identifying past and potential hazards. We looked at flood-related hazards, atmospheric-related hazards, which are high winds, hurricanes, tornadoes, and so on. Other natural hazards, urban fires. One thing that just about every community has mentioned to us that has rail and freight is sparks from wheels from freight cars and concerns about fires, brush fires, wildfires. That happens a lot. Also geologic hazards, earthquakes and landslides. We don't have to worry about tsunamis, but tsunamis are geological hazards, but we're not listed in there. And we think that's a pretty low hazard considering you're 800 to 1,000 feet above sea level. You should be fine. Next slide talks about critical facilities. This is what's documented in the plan as well. A critical facility is a building, a structure, which is located, which is vital to the hazard response area. So think shelters, obviously fire departments, police departments, facilities that help you get through the disaster and then do repairs following that. We map those critical facilities and make sure that, goodness forbid, you hate to have a critical facility in an area of high drainage. We had a town a few years ago after this plan was adopted. I think they, I can't remember if they built a facility in a high drainage area or it was already there. But the bottom line is, I think there was a lot of water flowing in a rain event like we've had today into their, I think it was their fire department door. Basically, they got a grant to put up a drainage barrier, and they basically built a berm to keep the water out of the fire department days. And that's what we're talking about on the practical end. That's what you want to be looking at. During the plan update process, we review the past and potential hazards listed here. We map those, work with the committee based on identification of new potential hazards, which is what the map is that are referred to. Some that may have came forth in the last 5 years will be identified on that map. Some that may not have been addressed would still be on that map as well. And we make sure that those are identified. The next slide talks about mitigation strategy update. After 5 years of implementing mitigation strategies, in other words, the stuff that you say in your plan is important to us and we want to address. Communities update their goals and actions. So we work with you through that process, and we're getting toward the end of that process now. It is useful to review the changes in the community since the previous plan was approved to determine whether the goals have been met or if they remain consistent with current conditions. It's a nice way of saying, what did you say 5 years ago? What are you saying now? and did you do anything about those things, or geez, you know, we still have to address some issues here. There's a beaver dam over here, there's a culvert issue over here. So you want to look at those and see where you are and assess yourself. Prioritizing the actions, this is why I'm glad Richard was here. We used a document that the feds and MEMA like to call a stapling. Prioritizing the actions, we basically have a table which identifies all the potential hazards, and we ask this committee when we sit with them to quantify, and I know Richard's working on that with us very, very hard, and we appreciate that very much. But the statement is very helpful in basically putting everything in a matrix and quantifying the hazard. So tsunami is probably 0, hurricanes are probably higher, thunderstorms and ice storms are probably very high as well. The last couple of slides, there's a formal adoption slide by the Board of Selectmen, talks about why we ask for formal adoption. Basically, FEMA and MEMA want to make sure that you take a vote at some point in the process before the final plan goes to MEMA and FEMA for approval. Tonight's not that night to do that. We'll come back with a formal plan. We'll send that to you and ask you to do it in the near future. But we want you to see the plan tonight, see the part of the plan, understand the process. But we'll ask you to say, yeah, we've seen it. Oh, geez, you need to edit this and this and this before we take a formal vote. So you need to read it, tell us if there are some edits that need to be done. But if it's okay, when you see you see this draft, it's okay, we'll ask you for a date in the future for you to take action and say, yes, this is okay. When we see that vote come back, and then we multiply that by 23 geographies, the 3 cities, the 19 towns, and Devons, and then we'll package the whole plan, send it to MEMA, send it to FEMA. They have to review it and approve it. They'll obviously have edits as well. And then before they approve the plan, and then once it's approved, then you open up that door for grants in the future. The next slide talks about the formal adoption process, which I basically just said. I don't want to waste your time. You have a lot on your agenda. The last slide talks about send all comments, questions to a gentleman named Sam Lott. Sam is basically doing the writing at our office for all of these plans. And he and his supervisor, John Hume, are out in the communities about a couple a night to hit all the 23 geographies. I'm just pinch hitting, trying to help out some communities as well, because there's a lot of geography to cover. I tried to keep it brief. I saw your agenda. You have a lot on it. I'm not trying to be wasteful of time. I'm trying to be respectful, but if there are any questions, I'm certainly here to help.
Does anyone on the select board have any questions at this time? I know you haven't had a chance. Yeah.
Could we get electronic copies of this?
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Send those to Holly. If you can do it through her, just have her distribute. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got it. Yeah, no problem. PDF or Word or both. You can do that.
Yeah, I
PDF.
use PDF.
PDFs?
Yep.
Sure. We'll probably send you both just to cover, but we'll do, yeah, absolutely, John. No problem.
I'll take this home and see.
Okay, okay, good. Please.
Mr. Curtis, did you have anything that you wanted to add or comment to this? Okay. Okay. Great.
Will this include information on like pipelines, if that were to come to fruition?
Like a Kinder Morgan pipeline?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, that's not a, if, this is about acts of God. So if something happens, a hurricane or a storm, damage something and threaten property or people, I guess you could stretch it and say an act of God. Frosty's cracking a pipeline is not an act of God. So my gut would be no, but this is really about, you know, hurricanes and what it does to people in winter storms in New England. California, it's about bluntly landslides and earthquakes and so on and so forth. But it's not really about man-made.
Oh, okay, because it did say human-made hazards.
They do intersect, so that's why I want you to think about drainage.
Drainage.
So something that's on your map drainage is an issue at every town. I mean, we can't swing a lasso and not hit a beaver pond or realize it's an asset that needs protecting from excessive water rolling down a hill and maybe harming an asset. On the plan, I think it was on the 5-year-ago plan, also the map that I had pointed out, it says there's a pump station in Daltonville that needs to be protected. So you may be eligible to talk to FEMA and say, maybe we can get money to help fund, you know, a wall, a barrier to protect that asset. That's the kind of thing you want to be talking about. Yeah.
I have a question. You're talking about money and financial, and there's nothing in the paperwork that I received on money and whether it's a grant, a loan, or grant being paid back. Is there a percentage? Is there something that initiates it, like the governor making a stance saying that this is our emergency situation. Is this an insurance situation in that respect? And what is the entanglements of the federal government to the property owner? I don't see any of this information. Can I have some of that?
Yeah, those questions may be outside of the purview of what we're discussing this evening, but when it comes time to actually vote on the plan, once we've had a chance to look at it, because we can't really answer those questions but until we've had a time to fully digest the plan. But as soon as we do that, when it's on the agenda again for an actual vote, I'm sure that would be then a good time to go through to ask.
Excuse me, would there be an open discussion on that?
Oh, yeah, it'll be an open meeting, like, as we generally do, and I generally do take questions from the public. But Doug, was there something you wanted to?
Yeah, I do have a question. I understand the purpose of the plan, and I agree 100% that we need the plan. The previous plan, you said, I believe, that there was grant money that was awarded to develop the plan that expired in 2014. Where are the funds coming from now to develop this new plan?
FEMA. FEMA flows the money through MEMA, so the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So basically, it's your tax money that goes to Congress. Congress gives FEMA a budget. FEMA uses some of the money for planning. They set aside some of that money to the states. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we get a mass emergency management agency, so the money flows through MEMA. MEMA puts out an RFP probably every year to ask communities or regions to do disaster preparedness or all hazard mitigation plans.
So MRPC is being paid by MEMA then to develop the
And then we're
plan
paying,
for us.
yes, exactly. So basically, we got this grant, like I said, about a couple of years ago, late 11, started about January 12. And so basically, we're being paid by all of our federal tax dollars that have come back to us, essentially, to deliver the plan to make sure that the region is eligible for those funds in the future should something happen.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it very much. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item that we have is a 7 o'clock liquor license hearing. Holly, do you have the paperwork for that by chance?
That I'm going to have Kate explain to you.
Sure.
Because she did all the groundwork for it.
Sure. Kate, would you mind? This is this is a transfer of a license for the candlelight.
The candlelight is being sold to Industry and they went on and they filled out all the proper paperwork and has handed it, and basically this is just a vote of the board authorizing that it's okay.
To transfer the liquor license. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf, as it is a public hearing, either in favor or against the transfer of the license? Yes.
My name is Stan Mason. I live at 9 Pine Point Road, which is pretty much across the street. And I'd just like to say that I'm in favor of this because I know both of the men that are involved in the deal. And being a neighbor, I've questioned the gentleman buying the place, and he seems to be like, he told me that he wants to try to keep it kind of the same, which is nice and quiet. It's a nice hometown quiet bar. I know sometimes, they do have problems there, but the police seem to be right on it if there is a problem. And I haven't seen any problems there in quite some time. And, being a neighbor there, I pretty much right across the street. It's a nice place for people to go and, enjoy a nice cold beer or something after work. And it's kind of a family-oriented place. Everybody knows everybody. So I'd just like to say that.
Okay. Thank you.
I would be in favor of the transfer.
Thank you very much. Yes, Kate.
I did speak with the acting police chief, and there was nothing he needed to inform the board of.
Great. Is there anything else?
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know anything about this. Is the applicant?
Is the applicant here? Yes. Is there anything that you wanted to, it's just, it's a sale of it's a sale of if he doesn't want to speak, he doesn't have to, but.
Well, what's the question?
Was there anything that you wanted to say in favor of the transfer? or explaining the transfer. It's the sale of the business, correct, and the liquor license is going along with the transfer of the building. Yeah.
Ken, we don't have any information. Who is this person?
Well,
We have, it's.
it's Candlelight Inc., and the manager is Timothy Guerin.
Not here.
Right.
So there's a copy of what it looks like. Oh, and that also reminds me as well, I've remiss, is there anyone who wants to make a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion
Do
to
I have a
open the
second?
hearing.
Second.
Okay, any discussion of opening? Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John? Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, okay. So now, public hearing. We will take the comments that were made by the gentleman to heart. Is there anything else that anyone would like to say? If now, we'll vote on the transfer.
I will
Julie?
make a motion
Sure.
to transfer the liquor license from, oh, we have to close it and then vote?
Oh, okay.
All right, I make a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes as well. So now, hearing is closed, and then we'll, if anybody would like to make a motion to approve the transfer of the liquor license as the local licensing authority, I will accept that motion.
I'll make a motion to transfer the liquor license for Candlelight Incorporated to Timothy Guerin.
Second?
Second.
Okay, first and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, sir.
Did you have any input from the police department at all on this?
Kate?
It was
Oh,
also-
yeah. Police chief.
Chief, that's why I'm
Oh,
asking.
yeah, Kate spoke with the police chief, and he said he had nothing to comment on for this. Anything else? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes as well. So that is all set. Do we, Holly, do you need our signatures bottom left?
Yes.
Yes. There you go. Okay, thank you, congratulations. The next item that we have on the agenda is another liquor license. This is a 2-day liquor license for Martin Farm Winery. Is there any paperwork that accompanies this, or is it, okay,
The license. but-
just the license?
Yeah.
So, as many of you know, as has been the tradition for a few years at least, Hardwick Winery had formerly used, it's not on town property, it's not an official, it's not on where the Arts and Crafts Fair is, it's on private property, but they've given out samples and sold their wine there. So obviously, if they're going to be giving out samples and selling their wine, they would apply for a 2-day liquor license. They had a conflict this year, so they were not able to take advantage of the Arts and Crafts Fair. But as many of you know, Mr. Tom Martin has a winery here in town. And if you are Facebook friends with me, you see that I enjoy the wine often. And he has stepped forward to offer that same service that was offered previously. This is on the same land, correct, Holly? It's on the same private property. So the only change in how things have been going on is that Tom Martin's winery will be the local winery that will be selling and giving tastings there. Does anyone have any comments? I don't know if Mr. Martin, if you wanted to say anything, or if you're, no, okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes,
On the license, on Sundays, I think it has to open at noon. Is that correct?
What?
On Sunday, I think you can only open from noon to 4, not 10 to 4.
Oh, because the blue laws?
Yeah.
Blue laws were changed in the budget just adopted.
I
I'm
know,
not sure when it takes
when it's in
effect.
effect,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
yeah.
I'll have to change that.
So we'll check that, and if it's accurate, then the liquor license will be from 12 to 4, not to 10 to 4 to comply with state law.
All right. I will make a motion to grant a 2-day liquor license to Martin Farm Winery for the craft fair in August.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Sorry, I looked at Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there's 2 signature spots here for us.
Somebody just write it in.
If it's correct, yeah, sure. Well, that's being signed. The next item that we have on the agenda is Alan Mayo to speak about the Templeton Center Playground and the Civil War Grant. And I believe that the board has copies of some plans for the new. The floor is yours. Hello, thank you for coming.
As your packet, as you're aware, I got an email from Senator Brewer's office that the state budget has included an $85,000 award to Templeton for a new playground in Templeton Center. The reason I'm here to talk about it is because the Cemetery and Parks Department applied for that grant back in probably March or April through the Executive Office of Administration and Finance for the state. And we'd like to move forward with that. Not sure exactly how the state is going to transfer the money to the town, whether the state is going to transfer the money and then we pay the bills, or whether we have to submit the invoices to the state. I'm not sure how that grant actually works, but it certainly has been awarded. The deadline for completing the project is December 31st, according to the grant application. So time is limited. We would have to complete this project sometime this fall. Of course, if you're building a playground, you have to do it in warm weather. There is a lot of preparation work to be done on that playground because we have to remove all the old equipment and dig out a good significant amount of the surfacing material in order to build the new playground. So I am looking to, in some way, move the project forward. It'll be a lot similar to what the Gilman Waite playground was last year. We have a playground contractor that built the playground at Gilman Waite that has come up and designed the playground with me, and that is the playground that we put on the application. She does have the state bid under FAC 79, so we could effectively purchase the playground under the state bid. I have all the paperwork that she has the state bid and she is on it, and that the state bid goes through June 30th of 2015. So right now, I guess I'm looking for the board to commit to doing the playground so I can set up a date for her to set up a community build similar to what we did at Gilman Waite. What it would do is it would consist of a 3-day community build. And right now her dates, she's got a few dates left toward the end of September. Then we're getting into October and really cold weather. So I'm in hopes that we can move the thing forward. Again, the only issue I would have is how the state plans to transfer money. Whether the town would end up paying for the playground up front and be reimbursed, or whether the state pays it, you know, as we purchase it. I'm not sure how that works. So that's where we're at. So I really don't know how the board would like to proceed on it.
I think that may be an important question to have an answer to regarding the funding, because I don't know if the town administrator has any comment on that, but I'm not sure how to come up with that money, but where exactly we would take that money from, waiting for reimbursement.
I think we'll have to clarify that.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, far too often, state grants require you to front the money and then they reimburse you.
Right. Does anyone have it? Yes, Mr. Columbus.
Most of the state grants I've been involved with, the state, there's a grant contract you have to sign, which deals with those particular issues. So I would contact the state, see if you can get that going.
Is there any other comment? Oh, sorry.
I do. From the email that came from Senator Brewer, it doesn't really sound like it's a grant. They didn't use that term. It almost sounds like it's more like, just cherry sheet kind of funding, that it's just funding that was put into the budget earmarked for Templeton. So it's more like an earmark for the grant. So it's quite possible that we could get the money up front, but I agree that we need to find that out. Second question is, the 85,000, is that enough to cover this playground design?
Yes, it is.
Will it take the full 85, or is this somewhat
Yes, it
less?
will. There was money put in for the design playground that you're looking at, as well as the surfacing material that goes under the playground, and also some fencing work that needs to be done on the existing fence. The reason that it's put in that way is because you have to have a certified playground when you finish it, that's safety certified. So your surfacing and everything has to be included in order for you to build a brand new playground. So it will cover all of it.
Right. The last question then is, based on this full overview, it looks like there's a lot of equipment. Is the land space that this new playground, is it the same as the land space currently in use, or are you utilizing more land than what's already there?
We're utilizing exactly what's there right now.
The same footprint?
Yes, and this playground was designed by a certified safety playground inspector. It is NRPA, ASTM certified, and it will be ADA compliant. It does factor into all the use zones for all your equipment. It looks like a lot of equipment, because they do try to get as much as they can in without affecting the safety use zones, and, so that you get the best playground for your money.
Is there any further discussion? So would the project be fine holding off for a vote for another 2 weeks till we get the finalities of the funding, or would you like a vote from us contingent upon us being, the state paying directly, and then if that's not the case, we'll have to reassess?
I think if we could do the vote contingent upon the state paying directly or paying upfront, then that would be the best. I need to be able to commit to the playground installer, and there are other communities that are getting funding and stuff for their playgrounds, and before long they'll be committing it. Then we'll be left trying to search for a playground. The other thing to keep in mind is the installer that I'm looking to do this build with, we were very happy with the last year that they built at the other playground, and they also, it is also the playground that we put on the application to begin with, so that's the one the state has already looked at and approved. So it would make things much easier if we can stick to the exact plan we have.
Do I have a motion from anyone on the board to approve the plans and the acceptance of the money contingent upon the 85,000 or the money being funded, directly funded from the state, and with then, if it isn't a reimbursed manner, we can revisit that at another meeting?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second, okay. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to ask
Sure.
one question. To remove all the old equipment and resurface, is it just you? Like, what is, do you
Pretty
have
much,
a game plan for that?
That's
That's a lot of work. Will you do like a community, or can you even do that?
We will be doing a community build. When we
Right.
build.
Can you do a
The
community
removal-
takedown?
Well, we could,
I mean, I'm more talking for insurance purposes, and
yeah.
it's one thing to do a community build, but to take it down and,
Yeah, I really think that it's better if we don't because of
Okay.
the liability.
Right.
That's why, again, it's gonna take me some time to get it taken down.
okay.
And so it's, we're gonna use equipment and stuff in there and try to take it down. The thing is, you have to be aware that that would include the castle that's there. That would be gone as well. I know that a lot of people like that castle, but it is deteriorating pretty quickly and it's not in good shape anymore. It was built in, 1985, so it's time.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Oh, sorry, yes, sir.
On the tear down, what if you contacted one of the local junkyards to come up, they take away the scrap metal, and they may even, if it's a town junkyard, they may even come in with some equipment and help take it right out of there.
Again, that's a board decision on what you want to do with the equipment. I've heard suggestions, maybe putting it out to bid for somebody else to purchase it or whatever. I wouldn't recommend that. I think you're opening yourself to a little bit of liability. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know for sure, but the equipment has some issues with it that need to be addressed if somebody was going to reuse it, and it's pretty old, so. It would depend
It's
on
not
how
really
you want it.
reusable. I like the idea of selling it for scrap. It's not really reusable.
Certainly there is the option to sell it for scrap. What I was going to do was remove it and bring it to the town scrap, either at the highway or wherever, and then have them scrap it when they scrap all their stuff. But you can have a scrapyard bid on it and take it as well. It's your call.
Any other comments?
Holly?
Holly?
Yeah, I just have a question, actually. Remember I had told you that Christoph Chartier asked about it?
Yes.
He did want it for his home, for his children, and he said he's willing to sign a waiver. Would you think that it's in okay shape for that? Or would you recommend against it?
I would recommend against it. However, I would refer that to town council. If they feel comfortable with it, then, but
I mean about the
don't.
shape of the equipment. Do you think it's okay for home use?
It would be okay for home use if they rebuilt it and repaired it, and it certainly is not certified for public use at this point.
Anything else? Yes, Mr.
Isn't the castle pressure-treated wood?
I'm not sure what,
No, it's not.
it's not.
What is it made of?
It's made out of pine boards.
If there's nothing else, we'll vote. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John? Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you. And I believe the next, the Civil War grant, is that the next
Yes,
item?
the other item I had tonight was the Civil War grant. We again applied for, this is a grant, we applied for it through the Veterans Administration back around the same timeframe. We also went to the CPC. There was an article put on town meeting floor to support doing the Civil War project if we got the grant. I was just told by the treasurer this past week or so that the $7,500 payment from the state has come in for the grant. Kind of surprising, seeing how we haven't done the project yet, but, so I would like to be able to bid that project and get it underway.
Do I have any questions from the board?
I make a motion to move forward with the Civil War grant funds.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, a first and a second.
Do
I
we
just
want to-
have
Oh,
a
yeah, sure.
question. Which project was this?
This is the Jackson
Okay.
Monument.
All right.
So do I have a first and a second?
Yeah,
well,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, I just had.
Any other discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Thank you, is that all? Thank you.
I do have one other item for the board tonight.
Sneaking one in.
I'm going to present this to the board. It is the completion report for the tomb restoration that we just finished on
Oh,
June
wow.
30th. This is the document that will go to the Mass Historical Commission along with our request for reimbursement, which we should receive $50,000 back from the state.
Wow.
So, and that's for your office to keep.
Oh,
There'll be
great, thank
several of
you.
them put around offices in town. We're required to do that.
Wow.
In order to make it public so that people can read it. Okay?
Well, thank you very much, that is quite impressive, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to pass that down? The next item that we have on the agenda is the surplus of 2 vehicles, a COA minivan and a cemetery department car. I have the information here on the COA minivan. I don't know, regarding the cemetery department car, Alan, is that?
I don't have a report on that.
Okay.
But I had to report on the COA.
Alan, was there anything regarding the surplusing of the cemetery department car? Was that something that you have knowledge of?
I had concerns with it because I have had several issues with the brakes. I keep losing the brakes in that car.
That's not good.
So of course it's not it's not too safe to drive. And the mechanic puts new brake lines in it every so often, but it's just gotten to a point where we've lost so many brake lines and so many problems that I took it up last week and had the mechanic and Bud assess it and leave it up to them what they felt with the car, and apparently, I hadn't heard back from them, but apparently they feel the car is not good, or they would be surplusing it, so.
Oh, gotcha.
I'll say that I went to the highway department. I just happened to stop in the other day, so I could have a tour of the facility, and he said the entire underneath of that vehicle is rotted pretty badly. If I remember correctly, he gave me like this long list of stuff, and I went, okay, so, I mean, it wasn't good.
And do you have sufficient other vehicles at this time, or?
I actually don't.
Oh, yeah.
I originally had 4 vehicles that I was running. We lost a pickup truck last year, same situation, and now we've lost this car. So we're down to 2 vehicles. We're getting around, getting by with it right now, but at some point
We'll need to look at.
we'll need to look at possible transfers from the
And Holly, did you have your? Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Bud had talked to me about this, he asked me to put it on here, and he said he wanted to put it to be surplus for scrap. So
Okay.
it wasn't to be sold.
Okay,
I mean, to
scrap.
be sold for scrap only.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was the first vehicle. I don't know if we want to, I'll take a motion on the first vehicle, if there is one to be made regarding surplusing it, before we move on to the Council on Aging vehicle.
I would make a motion that we surplus the cemetery department car for scrap.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Thank you. And the next vehicle that we had on our surplus list, this is an email from Bud Chase that after a routine PM, preventive maintenance on a COA Mini, this vehicle is recommended by the town mechanic, Bob Adams, and myself, that it is no longer safe for the roads. It has been redlined here at the Highway Department and should be taken off the road immediately. Problems found: large amounts of body rot under the vehicle, door panels rot, front brake rotors bad, brake line rusted, engine oil leaks. This vehicle should be put out to bid as scrap metal, ... what's left of it. So that was his recommendation on that vehicle. So I don't know as if we really need any, yeah. So do I have a motion regarding the scrapping of this the minivan, the COA?
I would make a motion that we scrap the COA minivan or that we surplus the COA minivan for scrap as well.
Is there a
Second.
second? Is there any discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Both of those are surplus for scrap. The next item that we have on the agenda, we have several minutes to approve, which I believe that everyone has looked at in advance, but I'll still go through them individually because I believe that there may be some issues with a few of them that we'll want to address. But the first minutes that we have are from May 6th. And I will take a motion either to approve them or if anyone has any changes that need to be made. Yes, sir.
Just, in general, there's just a minor item there, but in case the Department of Revenue decides to read through our minutes, Jerry Perry is spelled with a J, a G, not a J.
Oh, okay. So we will
So
change
it
Jerry
is-
Perry's name to,
Yeah,
we do not want to offend him, so we'll change it to a G.
I wasn't like that.
Is there anything else regarding the minutes from May 6th?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 6th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Is
Yes.
the May 6th, the special town meeting?
No.
Okay.
No. Yep. Julie?
Abstain?
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Next are the meetings, the meeting we had 2 days later on May 8th. Do I have a motion regarding these?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 8th.
Second?
Second.
Okay, the first and the second. Any discussion?
Did
Joel-
I-
oh, sorry.
Did I make notes on those, Holly?
You did. There's a couple changes.
Okay.
Town election instead of town meeting. Under discussion of the reorganization of the board.
Gotcha.
Under discussion of town administrator report, May. Thought it was March.
Okay.
That was March, that should be March. That's when
Time
the
of
Schedule
okay.
A, yeah.
So we're changing March, May to March. And that was
No, I
it.
didn't notice that. It's too long.
And that was it? Okay. With those changes, did we get a motion already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Next are the meeting minutes from May 12th. Do I have a motion regarding these?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, is any of these
Sorry.
meetings minutes for the special town meeting?
No, these are only for Board of Selectmen
Okay,
minutes.
thank you.
Sure. Julie?
I don't, did I have anything on that?
There was one.
Oh, yep.
Okay, sorry. Under Otter River Road drainage,
Mm-hmm.
we just discussed it, we didn't approve it.
Oh, okay.
It says conclusions for appointments. I think that's just a carryover from the first, the appointments under Whitaker.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. Anything else?
That was it for that.
Okay. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Oh, good, okay, it's the same. Next are the meeting minutes from June 9th. Do I have a motion regarding the minutes from June 9th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 9th.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Did I
Not-
write anything
Oh,
on
sorry.
that? Okay.
Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
You were there.
Those were
I was
sent
there.
separately.
Oh, you have some.
The only thing I would say is, when you vote, I went to executive session,
Mhm.
it's a roll call vote, and it should be reflected in the minutes. It shouldn't be voted unanimously or by vote.
Oh, okay.
yes. It should be each member.
And how they voted. Okay. So we'll then, if we can make that change to format then, Holly, just to list our names. And it was a vote, luckily it was unanimous, so we know we all voted that way. But we could do a roll call vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Columbus. And with that change,
With that change, do you say yes?
Diane?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And you two both vote yes with the change. Okay, great, thank you. Moving right along. Next are the meeting minutes from June 23rd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from June 23rd.
I have to abstain.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Julie?
I don't know yet.
Oh, sorry.
I have changes.
There's one thing on that.
Okay. One change on the second sheet. Oh, it says, under discuss solar pilot agreement,
Yes.
Mr. Morrison rejoined the meeting. Should be Mr. Robinson.
Oh, yep.
Okay.
So I rejoined the meeting.
All right, there we go.
Thank you for catching that, because that's
Yeah,
important.
I'll just hand them back to you.
Is there anything else? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John? Diane?
Abstain.
And I vote yes. Next are the minutes from June 30th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any-
Sorry.
Any discussion?
I believe under Town Administrator Report.
Yep.
Last sentence, preliminary tax
Oh.
bills for fiscal, should be 2015 have
right.
gone out.
Yep. Is there anything else? If not, Julie?
Yes?
Doug?
Yes.
John? Diane?
Yes.
And I will be voting yes. Getting there. Next are the meeting minutes from July 15th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 15th.
Do I have
Second.
A second. Any discussion?
Under appointments, I think we appointed Priscilla Leclerc to the Senior Center Oversight Committee,
Yes.
in addition to Herb Farren and
Mhm.
Will Harris. On the second page, what have I written down here? It's pretty bad when I can't read my own writing. All right. Okay. I think under conclusions for summer rec program,
Mhm.
I think we appointed Joy Tainter to the rec department as well as, I don't think it was Phil Moulton. Wasn't that
Yeah.
correct?
It was Phil.
It was Phil.
We were calling him Craig.
Oh.
It was Phil, and
It
we
was
kept calling him
him
Craig, and we
Okay.
should not have.
I knew we did that a couple of
It was-
times. So
yeah, it was
I was
Phil.
confused, all right. So, but I think Joy Tainter's name should be added.
You are-
Or wasn't on there?
No.
No. I think some stuff gets dropped off in this format toward the end.
That was that one, too.
Okay, with those changes, Julie?
Yes?
Doug?
Yes.
John? Diane?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. And that concludes our minute fun for tonight. The next item on the agenda is a general discussion and vote of an override. As we discussed earlier, the deadline is rapidly approaching for us, if we're going to put an override question on the ballot, to approve that, to get it to Carol Harris. Obviously, the goal would be to have that approved by that deadline, so then we can kind of tag it on to the list of ballot questions and elections for the state election, because then they're covering a portion of it, and we don't have to hold an independent election and pay for that ourselves. Does anyone on the board, would anybody like to propose an override, and if so, an amount of override that they think would be what they would be looking for at this time?
I'll just make a couple of comments. If we do pursue an override, I would only be in favor of pursuing it for either one, compensation, stabilization, fixing people's salaries, perhaps getting assistance if we need so, or capital equipment improvements, or, to get new equipment. Because those are the two things that I see as being our biggest problems that we need to resolve. And I also think that we should, if we do ask, only ask for